Hold on. Gable Steveson, the wrestling legend, to the NFL?
You are Locked On Golden Gophers.
No matter what we're going to do here, we're just going to keep rowing.
Your daily podcast on the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
However it turns out, we're just going to keep rowing.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
We're just going to keep rowing, and keep rowing.
What is up, Gopher fans? You are listening to Locked On Golden Gophers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name's Kane Rob, host of the podcast, former collegiate football video coordinator and recruiting assistant, here to talk Golden Gophers with you each and every day of the week, Monday through Friday. And I appreciate y'all for tapping in each and every day. I couldn't do this without y'all, and I am appreciative of all the comments that I see over on YouTube. I love interacting. If you have ideas on maybe top 10 rankings, top 5 rankings that you would like to hear throughout this offseason, maybe different rankings, maybe different questions on the offseason, let me know in the comments below over on YouTube. Be sure to hit subscribe while you're over there. We'll do some more mailbag episodes. Maybe if there's players or alumni or something you'd like for me to try to get on the pod, I am more than willing to try and give it a swing, but I need you to let me know who you want to hear from in the comments below. Now, also, if you listen over on audio platforms, be sure to leave a 5-star review so others can find the show. But let's talk about some interesting things today. We're going to talk about Gable Steveson, the Gophers wrestling legend. He got some multiple NFL scouts looking his way. Could that actually happen? Then we're going to talk about the newest commit to the Minnesota Gophers football team in Jaren Mangham from Michigan State. Finally, we got to talk about the O-line because I don't think they get enough love, and I'm going to tell you why they are in good position, good shape, both this year and moving forward. We're diving into all of that today. Now, let's kick it off with Gable Steveson. Now, like I said, his name has come up in the news lately, and not for the reasons that you would typically assume. Now, the Gophers wrestling legend and Olympic gold medalist, Olympic superstar, was recently let go from the WWE. Now, apparently his personality, which can be more reserved at times, just wasn't connecting with the fans, or maybe there were other reasons as well. But unfortunately, they let him go. So he is a free agent out there in the world, and apparently said by his agent that his name is being brought up by multiple teams in the NFL for interest. Now, yeah, I know that caught me off guard too at first, but the more you look at it, it shouldn't be too shocking when given some thought, because the NFL is always searching for freakish athletes and seeing if they can find a way to make them translate. We've seen college hoopers turned into NFL tight ends. We've seen rugby players build up their way through the ranks. We've even seen recent buzz in the latest March Madness tournament with DJ Burns, North Carolina star, who was mentioned that NFL teams would love to see him do a pro day as an offensive line prospect. So when the Olympic medal gold medalist essentially being a free agent in the athlete's world, it shouldn't be surprising that the NFL came calling to see if there was any interest whatsoever. Now, in fact, the NFL has come calling for Gable as well before. He mentioned when talking to Pat McAfee back in 2001 that he had some NFL interest at that time too. So what would Gable be in the NFL? How could he play? Does he measure up? Does he size up? I mean, Gable's a big dude, but could he hang in the NFL? Well, he is an uber talented, ultra freakish athlete, so he definitely could maybe find a way. But it doesn't mean he would have success in the NFL. But when you're looking at his size and his stature, he's not even 24 years old yet, which nowadays rookies are coming in. I believe Michael Penix Jr. just turned 24 like 2 days ago, and he's going to be a rookie this year. So he technically could fit that rookie age timeline right now. But on top of that, he's 6'1", 6'2"-ish. So he's got some nice height to him, but he's 250 plus pounds. And then you add in the strength. You add in the bend, you add in the flexibility. This dude could be a maniac as an outside linebacker, edge type, fitting that JJ Watt, TJ Watt type of role. Oh, he could be a freak, and he could really beat some offensive linemen off of the edge. I think he could really give problems with his agility, with his strength, with his bend. I think he could really be a mismatch at times if he could hone in and if it was his everyday routine, everyday practice. Now, he wouldn't be the first Gophers legend in the wrestling sphere to try and make the NFL. In fact, Brock Lesnar, another former Gopher who was a heavyweight champion for the Gophers, also took a shot at the NFL, but it didn't surmount to much. He showed well at the NFL Combine. Then he got in a freak motorbike accident, ended up with multiple injuries, and many teams lost interest, but the Vikings did sign him. They brought him on. He played a few preseason games, and then ultimately he was released. But if we're being realistic here, I do not expect that Gable Steveson is going to join the NFL. I don't even think he's going to give it too much consideration. It sounds like they have got a couple other things in the works as well. Maybe he turns towards more of an MMA background, which I'm sure he could be just fantastic in. But overall, if we're being 100% honest with ourselves, it is very, very unlikely to happen. But man, what a fun story it would be. And we could add yet another name. Even though he didn't play for the Golden Gophers in the football team, we would have another Gopher in the NFL, which you would absolutely love to see. On top of that, it would be a pretty cool storyline. But I think one thing I saw on Twitter that someone had mentioned is that he still technically has a year of eligibility left. So if you really want to take that opportunity, take that risk, take that trial, why not put it on the field for the Gophers, see if you can hang, work with Coach Winston De La Tibadier, and then see what goes from there. Now, that would be fun. That would be extremely exciting. But at the same time, if the NFL is already calling, why go use 1 year at the collegiate level when you could go straight to the NFL with the big bucks and try to hang around right then when you already have the interest, instead of putting film out there, putting yourself in the injury risk positions or competing for time against a Ja Joyner, a Danny Strigow, a Jackson Howard, the list keeps going, Anthony Smith. Why compete for time there if the NFL is already interested and willing to get some looks at you? So even though that could be fun to see him in the maroon and gold as well, don't count on it. I also don't count on it at the NFL, but I love the thought. So moving forward beyond Gable Steveson, someone who actually will be suiting up for the maroon and gold next year is Jaren Mangham. He is the latest commit from the transfer portal. We're going to talk to you about him next because it's another running back addition. And some people are confused by that. Some people are like, why would we add another running back? We're going to talk about that and how this running back room could shake out coming up next. First, I want to talk to you about our friends over at Yahoo Finance because I don't know about you, but I've been in multiple different jobs where I've had different 401k plans or different benefits where they were run through different types of companies and different holdings companies and what have you. And it just kind of got difficult to always be like, oh, if I need to go, now that I no longer work with that company, if I need to go look in this website for this one and this website for this one, and just managing and keeping track of it all, it got frustrating, it got annoying, it got inconvenient. But now let's get straight to the point. If you want to grow your portfolio to deal with the rising costs of inflation, to pay off your debt or your mortgage and pretty much anything else standing in the way of financial freedom, well, you definitely want to check out Yahoo Finance, where you can get access to the news, data, tools in order to help you reach that financial freedom. But also you can put all of your get eyes on all of your investments in one spot. And for 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. So whether you're a seasoned investor or you're looking for extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all of the tools and data you need in one place. And they are producing a holistic look at the financial news cycle, including breaking news or original editorial perspectives. Now, you can securely link your brokerage accounts for a unified view of your wealth, including your 401k and other investments. It's a comprehensive perspective, and it definitely takes the stress out of it all. So with a community of over 90 million users each month, the real strength is helping you on your way to financial success. So definitely give it a try. Go to yahoofinance.com, the #1 financial destination. Again, that's yahoofinance.com. Give it a look today. All right, Gophers fans, if you can't get enough of your Minnesota sports, whether it's Timberwolves, whether it's Vikings, Wild, what have you, Gophers, of course, because you're here and tapped in, definitely check out Locked On Minnesota Sports. They have a 24/7 streaming channel in which you can catch up on all things Minnesota across all of those facets. So you're definitely going to want to go subscribe there and check them out on the 24/7 streaming Locked On Minnesota Sports. Now, turning it towards the Gophers. We have Jaren Mangham committing to the Minnesota Golden Gophers out of the transfer portal. Another running back has come to Minnesota via the transfer portal, Jaren Mangham, who transfers with 1 year of eligibility left, started at Colorado for 2 years. Then he went to University of South Florida for 2 years. Then he went to Michigan State last year. And I know you're thinking, how does this dude still have time? How does he still look? The COVID year, it's going to be done before we know it, but there are still the few, and he is one of them. So now he will be coming to Minnesota. Now, this is more of a depth addition, in my opinion, than one of impactful significance. And this team is still Darius Taylor's team. Plain and simple, no doubts, no questions. He is the running back one, the workhorse, the leader of that room. Now, will other backs get touches in this offense? Absolutely. We've seen that year over year. But when looking at the running back room, over the course of the spring, both of your freshman RBs, true freshmen, early enrollees, both got injured in that spring session. So you're likely looking at both of those players getting, first of all, rehabbing, getting back, but then all of a sudden using a red shirt, getting stronger, focusing on what it takes to play D1 football, practicing, playing, and what have you. So you have also two walk-ons, Cortez LeGrant and Xander Rockow, a linebacker converted to a running back, who are on the roster. But I don't know if you want to give any of those four players touches in your season coming up. So then you have your core four. You have your main four running backs, Darius Taylor, Jordan Nubin, Marcus Major, and C.A. Bangura. Two of those being transfers that came in, and now you add Jaren Mangham as the fifth running back, the third transfer addition in this room. Now, barring injury, Mangham probably won't be in front of any of those four players that we just mentioned on the depth chart. In fact, Bryce Williams was said to be coming back for his 7th year, but he is no longer listed on the roster, so you can assume that's not happening anymore. And this addition is basically that Bryce Williams spot at best. And this is a depth play for a team. Now, in 2021 and 2023, those both serve as examples of why you need up to 5 running backs depth on your depth charts, because the Gophers in 2021 and 2023 saw their running back 5 take actual snaps on the field, impactful snaps. And in fact, Jordan Nubin had a 200-yard game. So the fact that injuries do happen, the fact that the running backs do take punishment and what have you, and this being a run-first team, it definitely was needed to have someone who could tote the rock as their RB5 if needed. So that's why this addition definitely is a depth add. Now, Darius Taylor, like I said, will be the lead back and potentially a workhorse depending on health and game plan and what have you. But the real question becomes, who is the running back 2? Who is that next player of significance? Who is the guy who can spell Darius Taylor if he's tired, or if we need a different look from the defense? Personally, I believe that battle is going to be between Jordan Nubin and C.A. Bangura. Now, Marcus Major is still going to have a role on this team, but I see it being more of a niche role, more of a targeted role, a la a goal line punisher to punch in the touchdowns that we struggled to punch in last season, or to get the first down on a 3rd and short or 4th and short yardage. No more tush-push conversions for the Minnesota Gophers. You've got an older quarterback. He's a little bit shorter as well. And on top of that, he has had a major knee surgery in his career. Why put him in that type of situation? So overall, you've got a punisher in Marcus Major who can pick up those type of yards. So then who is the complement to Darius Taylor? We know PJ Fleck is very, very loyal to his players and vets especially. So that would make me believe Jordan Nubin will get the first looks as the running back 2 of this team. But that being said, this team really likes C.A. Bangura, and I think he can play a different complementary type role to Darius Taylor's style of running, and he's a player that Coach Fleck has mentioned stood out over the spring session. So both of them have a case, and this really could be a battle to be determined in the fall camp session, something we'll keep you posted and keep an eye on here at Locked On Golden Gophers. Now, regardless of it all, We welcome Jaren Mangham to the team, wish him the best, hopefully a successful end to his final year of collegiate football. He comes from Michigan State. Maybe he can give us some intel on what they were starting to do over there on the offensive side of things with that new head coach, just for future reference. We don't play Michigan State this year, but it definitely helps to have someone who has experience and has seen his fair share of football in your running back room to help be a veteran in that room. So overall, the Gophers have some depth in that running back room. That's how I think it kind of shakes out. And finally, I want to talk about the key for that running back room. That is the offensive line, because the offensive line is one of the most important groups in Big Ten football. And I think the Gophers are set up for success, not only in 2024, but for many years to come. We're going to dive into those thoughts coming up next. First, let's talk about our friends over at FanDuel, because right now it's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a win of your own. And it's huge in the NBA right now. The finals, the playoffs, everything like that is happening. I've got the Celtics tuned in, tapped in right above me on a secondary screen to make sure I can poke up and look. And right now they're losing. I am not happy about that as we're getting ready to close out the third quarter, but hopefully they'll finish this one off. But right now, like I said, new customers get $100, $150 in bonus bets with any $5 winning bet. So I would take the Celtics to win the series against Cavs. If you want to take the Timberwolves to win the series against the Nuggets, which is a very strong possibility how they've started this one off, well, now's the time to go place a $5 bet. And when you win, you get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Over at FanDuel.com/lockedon is how you can take advantage of that deal. So definitely go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and official sportsbook of Locked On. All right, Gophers fans, I want to wrap up today's show talking about the O-line, the big sexies, as I love to call them. Look, the offensive line doesn't get discussed enough, in my opinion, when it comes to the potential or the upside in that room. But they're sure as heck always cooked by fans whenever a sack happens, or if the quarterback is rushed, or if the running game doesn't have as much success. A lot of the heat goes to the offensive line. So I want to take the time to shout them out and why this room is seemingly in a very good spot, both this year and moving forward. Now, you are bringing back PFF's highest graded left tackle in Ariante Ursary. Now, that is the driver and the high hope for this team. Now, obviously, one player can't make the whole offensive line, but his presence will have many more scouts and eyes and recognition coming to the Minnesota program, Minnesota team, and the Minnesota offensive line from an NFL standpoint. But this is a player that Daniel Faalele, when he was going through the draft process, mentioned was destined for greatness in his draft process, and that Coach Fleck had mentioned might be possibly the most athletic offensive lineman he has ever had on a roster. Now, his upside is starting to come to fruition. And not only it shows you the hard work that pays off, but it also helps your younger players and then younger names on this team, your Nathan Roys, your Ashton Beers, your Greg Johnsons, your Brett Carrolls, all these guys see what it takes to play at or to be a prospect at that NFL level, to get NFL attention and what it takes to get to that point. So now these younger names know how to study film successfully, how to get into the film breakdowns, what to look for, how to have that work ethic, how to have good habits, how to eat right, how to have day in, day out details when it comes to that work. They can see the blueprint right in front of them and follow it, hopefully for similar or even better success moving forward. So Ariante Ursary is definitely the driver. Big shout out to him. But another thing that is extremely positive for this Gophers offensive line and team overall is you have 4 players, maybe even 5, that all have starting experience back that could be starting on your O-line this year. Now you have 3 full-time starters who will be in starting opportunities again. You've got Ariante Ursary, like we just mentioned. You've got Tyler Cooper and you've got Quinn Carroll. So you've got the left tackle, left guard, and right guard all locked in as starters who played last year. That experience and consistency only helps you move forward in this bigger and better conference of the Big Ten. On top of that, Greg Johnson got some starting opportunity last year, got some snaps to play last year, and he looks like he is set to start at the center position. He looks like he learned very quickly and came a long way in the spring session. And now you have your young staple in a Greg Johnson on this offensive line who is showing he can have that versatility firsthand and play the guard position or the center position or wherever he's needed to help this team be the best that it can be both this year and moving forward. So you've got that, and that's 4 players right there who have had starting experience last year. And then you've still got Martez Lewis, who could still win the right tackle position and be a starter. He started at the right guard last year, but otherwise, even if he doesn't end up winning that job, you have Martez Lewis as a depth player on your offensive line who has a lot of starting experience and in-game playing experience as your 2 deep second in line for the offensive line. So that gives you depth. That gives you in case of emergency type of players. Then you've got young guns. You've got Phillip Daniels, who looks like he's already making a case to be a starter as a redshirt freshman. You've got Nathan Roy, who early enrolled and he made progress throughout the spring and stood out. You've got Brett Carroll, who will soon be on the way. You've got huge, literally the dude is 6'7", 370 pounds, transfer in Aluma Kelly coming in that could make a case to start at the right tackle. Other younger guys building in the wings, Ashton Beers, Jerome Williams, Reese Tripp, Tony Nelson, just to name a few. Plus, you have a 4-star already committed in not the 2025 class, though there are a couple offensive linemen who are right on the verge, right in that interest zone of potentially committing. But you have one in the 2026 class, Andrew Trout, who is committed in the 2026 as a 4-star. This offensive line room, it has experience, it is deep, it has youth, and it has more continuing to join for years to come. That is why this team is set up to be successful on the offensive line side of the trenches. And it looks like Coach Winston DeLatibadiere is really building up that defensive line to hopefully rival the success on both sides of the trenches. And in a great offensive line coach in Coach Callahan, you have what looks to be a group that should be good and consistent in one of the best conferences in football for many years to come. So shout out to the O-line, shout out to the big sexy, shout out to the big boys. I see you, you are appreciated, and I can't wait to see what you do this upcoming season. And that's going to wrap it up for us today at Locked On Golden Gophers. Now tomorrow, we're talking some hoops. We're talking about, is Mike Mitchell Jr. being overlooked? I think that is a heck yes, in my opinion. On top of that, we're going to talk about a name in the transfer portal that could still commit to the Gophers. And finally, what the Gophers' priorities are for next year's men's basketball team. It seems like it's really apparent, and we're going to dive into it all tomorrow. I'll see you then, but be sure to row the boat, Sky Go Gophers, as always, and don't forget to hit subscribe. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you tomorrow.